Hi, Beck Mac here for Little Lunch Online, presented by Arts Front. And I'm so happy to be invited to be the guest curator and host of Little Lunch today on the 6th of April. Now, there are so many amazing artists that have already lodged expressions of interest to be involved in this very special series. So it was really hard for me to choose a selection of artists, but I felt like now's a great time to explore the concept of intimacy, digital intimacy, our relationship to our bodies and those around us, because it's all in a whole new paradigm of existence. And I've selected some fantastic artists. So we'll be having on the show today, Pauline Morty, Patty McHugh, Ian Sinclair, and Alice Webb. Now, before I launch into these amazing performances, I've got a few notes I've got to read. So I'm going to read them because this is serious housekeeping. And before I go forward, I'd like to acknowledge that I am on Yagara country and acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, past, present, and future. So great honour to be able to live in this incredible place here and now. So thank you. Today, lunch is being recorded and will be live streamed live and available on www.LLOL.com.au. We'll be sticking to a 30-minute time frame because that's the way it is, folks. We invite people to introduce themselves in the Zoom chat and say whose country you are on today. There is a live captioning available if people click on the caption icon on the Zoom. These guys, Arts Fronts, are the master of Zoom, and they've got multiple people working internationally to bring this to you today. There's also live signing from Susan. Hi, Susan. Thanks for joining us at Auslan, stage left, and people participating that way just need to click on Susan's video and pin it. We ask people who want to ask questions just to type them in the Zoom chat and put their hand up using the hand on the button. But I think today there's a lot going on. So if you just put all your questions and comments in the chat, that would be amazing. We also ask people to keep your mics muted unless they are speaking. Otherwise, there's the mysterious hand of Sarah will sneak in and snatch your mic from you. Any tech problems or feedback, please email contact@artsfront.com. And finally, if you get a chance, please mention that the lunches is feral arts thing as part of the Arts Front project. Some people don't. Arts Front is a feral arts thing. Oh, there we go. So that's from the boss up above. Hope you're. Thanks for having me. All right. So, as I said, my name is Beck Mac, and I have been Aphrodite, the goddess of love. In past incarnations, I've lived in a clam. And so a lot of my work has been about love and personal relationships. And I was just wondering, how is everyone coping now in a world that was once full of effortless transactions of hugs, kisses, touches, and feeling, and physical closeness? And now we are in law-enforced social isolation and physical distancing, where literally the touch of one, and I don't mean to be alarmist, could be the death of another. So this little lunch will open a conversation around how people's intimate relationships to our bodies and those of others are being impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. We will also explore the huge role technology is playing in our daily lives as well as our intimate relationships. And is like Zoom love as great and as important and real as real personal face-to-face love? These are the big questions we will be looking at today. Now, to start our fabulous little lunch online, I have some fantastic artists. They are actually lovers. It's Pauline Morty and Patty McHugh, Brisbane musical sweethearts, who have a fabulous love story to share with us and maybe some tips on how to keep the love alive. How are you, Pauline and Patty?
Hey, we're good. How are you?
I'm great. Good. Thanks for joining us on this Monday. Now, you have a wonderful story of love. Can you tell us how it all started, your tumultuous relationship, Pauline?
Well, I hitched a ride with Patty. He was looking for someone to jump in a car with him and drive up to the Adani protest camp. And this was leading up to the election last year, and I was wanting to go up and check out what it was all about. So I jumped in a car with a complete stranger, and we spent 3 days on the road together camping and you know, dealing with all sorts of things like going and voting on the road and seeing obviously all the different political differences in different regions. And yeah, that's how it all started. And then we found that we didn't want to spend any time apart from each other after that. But because I have a tendency to be on the road a lot, and my family is overseas most of the time, or a lot of my family is, I had planned to go to Europe, and so about 2 weeks after we met, I bought a ticket to go to France for 5 weeks.
Well, there you go, Patty. She's keeping you on your toes immediately. So just backtrack. You'd never met each other. You're on the road for 3 days. When did the first inkling of romance? Was it the second day, the third day, or was it straight, you know, that first hour in the car? When did the love start coming alive?
I think we have different experiences of that, but I knew straight away. I thought she was fantastic. She was great company. We really got on, and I didn't know where it would go, but I knew by the end of the car trip that I wanted to spend more time with her, and thankfully here we are down the track and now in isolation together.
Wow. Now, how is the isolation going? Because we're talking a little bit before about negotiating space. You may live, love, and work all in the same place with your partner at the moment. How do you think you guys are going to go with this?
We're reconciling some things which I believe a lot of other people are dealing with as well, which is that we haven't been at the stage where we're both together, stuck at home day in, day out. But however, what we do have to reconcile is the fact that one of us is still having to go to work as an essential worker, and so having that contact with the outside and balancing that out with us being safe and isolated, and you know, how much we should go out beyond that. So that's been challenging because, you know, it's made us think about do we want to go and, you know, have a walk with close family members and so on. Like, you know, we're in Queensland, we can still kind of do that, but you know, we have to bear in mind the fact that Patty's just, you know, potentially been at work and been in contact with lots of people in a school context where physical, you know, distancing isn't necessarily an easy thing to keep up.
Now, before we launch into your song, which we are really quickly, what is your one and only tip you can give us about keeping the love alive when you're in distance, Patty?
Oh, look, well, this song actually was written, one thing that I was complaining a lot when Pauline was in France and I was missing her, and she said to me, why don't you write a song about it? So I think being creative and being playful in that creative space is always a great way to keep sane and to keep connected. And yeah, so we came up with this song. So it was a difficult time, but we got a song out of it.
All right, take it away, folks. Pauline and Patty, off you go.
"40 days, 40 nights, Moses sat up on the hill. Since you left me, darling, I've known how that feels. 40 days, 40 nights, your breath didn't touch his lips. For the same time, darling, I've hungered for your kiss. 40 days ain't nothing. They come and then they go. It's 40 nights, my darling, that I need you the most.
40 days, 40 nights, a road upon the waves. Since you left me, darling, I've drifted much the same.
40 days, 40 nights. Jesus wandered in the desert for the same time, darling. I too had thirsted.
40 days and 40 nights. Lord, he did his time. Since you left me, darling, you know you've done mine.
40 days ain't nothing. Come and then they go. It's 40 nights, my darling, that I need you the most.
Bravo! So fantastic. Thank you so much. And I must say, you're making like long distance love look really hot. Like the desire, the passion is going to go through the roof. Is this what you experienced?
Well, in some ways, I mean, it was pretty early in our relationship, and so there was, you know, a lot of things there to discover. And we spent a lot of time talking while we were away from each other. And I think, you know, we wanted to play this song today because we know how hard it is for people to be away from each other right now, and everyone is dealing with some kind of level of anxiety and stress and not knowing what's going to happen and when it's going to end. And we had the privilege of knowing when it was going to end, and we have the privilege today to be together, but we miss hugging our friends and our family and being there to support them. And so we hope that at least that can bring some joy and some support to all of you, and we just want to tell everyone that we're with you, and we hope you're all taking care of yourselves.
Well, thank you so much, Pauline Morty and Patty McHugh. Give a big round of applause, folks, from your lounge room. Woohoo! Now, the next guest we have is Ian Sinclair. He's an experimental artist, playwright, and dramaturg exploring immersive and participatory installations. He's also part of the Pony Express, and he's doing a work which is going to explore the concept of yearning and the notion of virus. So I'm going to hand it over now to Ian Sinclair for his performance. Ian Sinclair.
Hi, Beck. Hi. Hello. Hi. I'm on Gadigal land, and thinking about being trapped inside, outside versus inside. I've been thinking a lot recently around what are the ways I can adapt and dress and change myself for some like queer protective wear. So that's what I'm kind of been thinking about. So I'm just going to test that out with you guys today. Let me just...
Wow. Okay, I think Ian has disappeared into the sunset in his queer protective gear, and he will be back soon. So in the meantime, while Ian rescues himself from the outside back to the inside, we might bring you in, Alice. Webber, are you there, Alice?
Hi. Yes, I'm here.
How are you? How are you going?
Good, thank you.
So Alice Webber is our third and final guest. We will get back to Ian and have a chat. Now, Alice is a dance artist, works with choreography, performance, and discursive outputs. And her work is examining digital intimacy and ways of sustaining relationships over distance. So Alice, are you ready to roll?
Yeah, should I go straight into it? Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you. Alice Webber, everyone. I'm still on the screen. Elliot, can we go to Alice's video?
If I spotlight Alice, it'll override the closed captioning, but we can do it just for a moment.
Yeah.
Just mute yourself, Beck.
And I'm just checking, will I perform now or wait to Ian to finish up?
I think go now, please, Alice.
Yeah, Alice, you go. Thank you, Alice. Alice Webber. Thank you, Alice Weber. It's so interesting, isn't it? The being so immersed in someone's domestic space at the moment. Like I'm in my bedroom, Pauline and Patty were in their lounge room, Ian's in his bedroom. Like we're actually so intimately involved in each other's lives via digital media. Like it, and that's what that really revealed to me. Alice, just talking about how you took us to your beautiful backyard. Like we got to see a part of perhaps your personal landscape, which we not normally engage with. How, from your experience, do you create intimacy in a digital realm?
Sorry, I'm just getting my breath back. The first thing to say about my beautiful backyard is that I'm on Gadigal land, and I'm very lucky to be. As you can see, it's beautiful, and it's a really beautiful place to spend this time. But yeah, it is an interesting question, like navigating physical space, domestic space into digital space, and sharing that with someone else in an intimate way. I think there are techniques that I sort of use, but really it's more just like shifting my thinking around like what is the boundaries of these spaces, and realizing that like a digital way is not sort of an inferior space to the physical ones. It's on the same kind of level. Yeah.
And I think that's the big question. And I might bring you in here now, Ian, as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Your queer protective gear is amazing, and just around, just sort of into what you're investigating around the historical implications of virus for the LGBT community. There's another layer going on here. Can you just talk a little bit about that in relationship to your work?
Yeah, I think, I mean, when we talk about pandemic and crisis, and particularly thinking like keeping with the trouble of now and what's happening, I think there's also places that I've been thinking about in terms of like what are the other timelines, what are the other historical moments that we've experienced, particularly within my community as well, where there have been levels of crisis and pandemic as well, and that is across First Nations people as well, queer people, that is across non-human entities as well. There are multiple other sort of ideas of what pandemic has been before, but I've also been thinking a lot about, in a strange way, what those future viruses, what those future pandemics could look like as well, because this may be just the beginning, not in a bleak way, but in a strange way, the beginning of something else. You know, there's permafrost melting that are releasing all sorts of other unknown viruses and entities. So I've been kind of thinking into the future as well as to what that could be.
And I think also, and this is to you too, Alice, and what your work was talking to about is what this virus has placed us in is a thirst for touch. Like we are removed from physical contact, from being in closeness. So how are you dealing with that in yourself, Ian? And then Alice, it'd be good to ask you the same question.
I came across a really fun term recently that's called skin thirst. And in Urban Dictionary, I think it literally means the craving for touch. And I felt like that was such a great catch-all term for what I feel like a lot of people are experiencing at the moment. I mean, it's interesting because I live with my partner, and I'm also with a group of housemates as well, all locked in together. So I think the idea of touch can be both a metaphor for other things as well. You know, there is more than just the craving of touch for each other, but there's also, I think, something like COVID has opened up the barriers and the boundaries between how many different people are very stretched and far away from each other as well, I guess, and how many communities are far away from each other.
And then Alice, coming into your work and the work you're doing around digital intimacy, how does that thirst for touch get met in that space?
I think there's a lot of, I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't for the time period that you're apart from someone. So for context, I'm in a long distance relationship, and I have been for 2 years. The longest time period we spent apart was 10 months. I have found it useful to drop the idea of outcome and of like finite ends to the time periods in which your desires can't be met in that way, and kind of recognizing that the experience of time is a very personal thing, and it's also not it doesn't also always neatly map onto the way that we record time, where the way we experience time expands and compresses. And every experience I've had of finally being able to physically be with my partner, the expanses of time have compressed so suddenly. And I think that like physicalizing time is something that comes into my practice in ways that I don't necessarily intellectualize, but I can kind of feel the expanse of space and the expanse of time and how you can pull them in. And I guess there's something in having that experience and kind of knowing how to kind of navigate and shape that. You know, it's yeah.
And that's, we were talking about time. Unbelievably, time is finished here for little lunch, because we are on a strict time, and that's half an hour. But because incredible performances and so generous, and I guess that's what's so beautiful about where we are now, is we're still connected, and the arts is a great connector. And so I'd like to thank from the bottom of my heart Pauline Mundy and Patty McHugh and Ian Sinclair and Alice Webber. Thank you so much for your fantastic performances. They were really deeply felt and incredibly expressive across the screen. And also a big thanks to Arts Front and to Elliot there and all the other team that's involved in this. So this will be on every day at 12 o'clock here at Arts Front. So I'm Beck Mack. I've been the guest curator and host for today, and thank you for joining us, and hopefully we might see you next week. All right, bye. Is that it?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. That was wonderful.
Thanks, everyone. Just letting you know the live stream is finished and the cloud recording has finished as well. Thank you for joining us.
I just want to get a photo of Ian in that great suit on the.
Tom.
That is awesome.
It is awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. That was really fantastic. I mean, there's
it was
going on.
it was
Thank you,
great.
Beck Mac.
I think we pulled it off.
Yeah, that was great. That was really good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Get a drink after Mass. It's only 12.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I'm going to end the meeting shortly. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you at some more little lunches soon.
Yeah, thank you. So great.
Thank you.